Hi everyone, welcome back to the Remnant Christian book reading. We're gonna go ahead and do chapter 4. You're watching this right after chapter 2 and 3. This is about an hour later my time. Go ahead and do chapter 4 now. Extra sausage. Let's get right into it. Cody stared at his phone. She hung up on me. Willard, his geeky, overweight friend, replied, "Perhaps she's too enamored by your fabled charm to speak directly to you." Cody frowned. And in English, that would mean... Willard translated, "Maybe she thinks you're too hot." Cody shook his head. "Don't be stupid." Willard smiled to himself. Cody was the best friend a guy could have. Thoughtful, modest, and always there when the chips were down. But when it came to girls, he was clueless. The guy had absolutely no concept of his incredible looks or the effect he had on girls, which was probably why they were all nuts over him. Willard remembered the time in 3rd grade when they were playing dodgeball and 2 girls were chosen to be captains. To say that they were each crazy to get him on their team was an understatement. To say that it involved screaming, a fist fight, and huge clumps of pulled out hair on the gym floor when they were through was at least the truth. The fact that Willard was always chosen last was another truth. But one he was used to. At the moment, the two of them were working in Willard's dad's garage, tinkering on Willard's latest invention. In the past, he had created other mind-numbing devices. Rocket-powered bowling balls. A lot of fun, except for the holes they put in the back walls of the bowling alley. Make you invisible electron beams. A useful invention, except it only worked on skin and muscle, leaving folks walking around like human skeletons. Not one of humankind's more attractive features. Finally, there was the ever-popular automatic hair curler. A hit with the girls, except that it fried their hair and made them permanently bald. Now Willard was working on his latest, the Helo Hopper. It was made of 3 big ceiling fans, one on top to work as helicopter blades, and the other 2 on opposite sides to steer it. Below the fans were 2 side-by-side wheelchairs to sit in. And on the bottom of the chairs were plenty of springs just in case the fans didn't work so well. Cody's frown deepened as he said, "I'm just afraid Piper might be in trouble." "Why's that?" Willard said as he returned to tightening the bolts on the Helo Hopper. "She said they took a bus to Pasadena." Willard agreed. "That alone has an indication of something being incorrect." Cody nodded. Who would take a bus to visit their aunt all the way in Pasadena without their parents? Willard continued to tinker. Cody nodded to the hopper. "I wish that thing was working so we could fly over there and check on her." "You're in luck." Willard tightened the last bolt and looked up. "I believe we're ready for our first test flight." "Cool!" Cody exclaimed. "Start her up." Willard climbed aboard the Helo Hopper and turned the key. It gave a grinding noise until the engine coughed to life. "All right!" Cody shouted. That was the good news. Unfortunately, there was also a little bad. The whole machine leaped suddenly into the air and crashed down onto the floor. Then it leaped higher and crashed harder. "What's going on?" Cody yelled. It appears to be oscillating. Over-oscillating." "What does that mean?" It shot up, nearly hitting the roof. "It means you better hurry and get on before we take off." Once again, it slammed to the ground. This time, Cody jumped onto the empty chair just before it shot up and grazed the ceiling. "Hang on!" Willard shouted as they crashed back down. "I suspect the next couple of leaps will be the ones." "The ones for what?" Cody yelled. Once again, they slammed into the ceiling. This time, the wooden planks gave a sickening crack before the Helo Hopper fell back onto the floor. "The ones for what?" Cody repeated. Again they shot up, hitting the ceiling with such force that it finally gave way. The wood splintered into 1,000 pieces as the boys in the machine shot through the roof and up into the sky. Piper stood at Aunt Myrna's driveway beside Zack and in front of Elijah. She couldn't put her finger on it, but something was stopping her from entering. Maybe it was the forced smile on the woman's face, a smile that looked more painted than real. Maybe it was the fact that there were no cars parked out front. Not Aunt Myrna's, not Dad's. But she suspected the real reason was that Elijah had grabbed the back of her belt and held her, not letting her go inside the house. "Please," the woman repeated. "I really think it's time to come in, don't you?" "Oh, yes," Pepper agreed. Once again she tried moving forward, and once again Elijah held her back. Finally she turned to him. "What's the matter with you?" The little guy gave no answer but narrowed his eyes and pulled even harder. Just then, the phone rang from inside the house. "Oh, that must be your parents now," the woman said. Zack stepped inside. "Probably calling to see what we want on our pizza," he offered. Pepper looked at her little brother and decided she had enough. She reached back, grabbed Elijah by the hand, and pulled him inside with her. "Tell them I want extra sausage," she said. "Yes," the woman smiled painfully as she shut the door. "Extra sausage." By now, Willard and Cody were 50 feet in the air, dipping and diving, spinning and twirling, all the time hanging on for dear life. Cody yelled, "Can you steer this thing?" "Of course," Willard shouted back. "Just as soon as I get a little practice." And practice he did as they drove this way and that, and then this way and that, or that way and this, barely missing trees, telephone wires, and more than one angry seagull. After 20 or 30 minutes of these fun and games, Willard finally started getting the hang of it. "Isn't this cool?" he shouted. Cody would have been happy to answer, but he was too busy hanging his head over the side of his chair, trying not to throw up. When he finally looked over to Willard, he saw his friend managing the controls with one hand while at the same time pressing buttons on a small box. "What's that?" Cody yelled. "My GPS tracker!" Willard shouted. "Your what?" "I believe there's a way we can find Piper's location." "How?" "With a few modifications to this device, it is possible to locate her cell phone signal and trace it." "Great!" Cody shouted. "That's just..." He wanted to finish the sentence, but it was more important he threw his head back over the side and hoped there was nobody standing directly below him when he barfed. Zack, Piper, and Elijah stood in the living room as the woman answered the phone. "Hello?" "Mike. Good. The kids are here." She looked at them and tried another smile. "Yes, they seem fine." Piper felt a wave of relief and smiled back. The woman continued talking. "Yes, I'll tell them. Oh, and remember, your daughter likes extra sausage on her pizza. Yes, we'll see you soon." As she hung up, at last she hung up. "They'll be here in a little while." "Great," Zack said as he plopped down on the sofa. Feeling better, Piper joined him. Only Elijah remained standing. "Come on, Eli." Piper held out her hands. "Come sit with me." But Elijah refused. Instead, he turned and walked back to the front door. The woman tensed. "He's not leaving, is he?" "Nah," Zack assured her. "He'll stay with us." The woman continued to watch. "You'll have to excuse him," Piper explained. "Sometimes he acts a little strange." "Yes," the woman nodded, not taking her eyes from Elijah. "So I've heard." "Hey, pal," Zack called. "What are you..." Elijah reached up and locked the front door with a loud click. Piper shrugged. "Guess he's afraid of burglars." "Yes," the woman nodded again. "That must be it." Suddenly the doorknob rattled. Someone was trying to get in. Zack rose from the sofa to take a peek out the window. Concerned, Piper joined him. "It's probably those annoying Girl Scouts," the woman said. "They're always trying to sell those awful cookies." "But They were not Girl Scouts. Instead, one was a big hulk of a man with a funny face. The other was the skinny guy with a long pointed nose that Piper had seen pulling out a gun in the front of her house. The very same gun he was pulling out now. Without a word, Pepper spun around and headed for the kitchen. The woman turned. "Is everything all right?" "Oh, yes." Pepper fought to keep her voice even. I was just wondering." She silently motioned for Zack to follow. This time, for whatever reason, he decided to listen. So did Elijah. "We were just wondering if there was anything we could snack on while we waited." The woman looked unsure whether to follow them or unlock the door. She voted for the door, and that was all the time they needed. Pepper raced for the back kitchen door and threw it open. Her brothers followed right behind. They leapt off the porch and dashed to the tool shed their dad had helped build a couple summers back. Zack tugged at the shed's door. "Locked!" he whispered. They turned, searching the yard. Elijah pointed at the old RV beside the house, some 20 feet away. Zack nodded. "It's worth a try." They ran to it and barely arrived on the other side when the porch light flooded the yard. "They're out here!" the woman shouted. "I knew she was up to something," Piper whispered as she tried the RV door. It wouldn't budge. "Try jiggling the handle," Zack said. "Maybe it's stuck." Piper tried again with no luck. They heard footsteps coming down the porch stairs. "What do we do?" Piper whispered. She spotted Elijah feeling under the front bumper. "Elijah!" The voices began to approach. "Look in that shed," the woman ordered. "I'll check the RV." "Elijah, what are you—" Suddenly her little brother held up the hide key he'd found under the front bumper. Zack quickly grabbed it and unlocked the door. "Everyone inside," he whispered. They didn't have to be asked twice. When they were all in, Zack locked the door behind them. "Crouch so they can't see," he whispered. The voices drew closer. Zack reached over and silently pulled Elijah out of the light streaming in through the RV's windshield, just as the door rattled. Piper caught her breath. "It's locked," the woman called. "Shine your light inside." A flashlight gleamed, or excuse me, sorry, not gleamed. A flashlight beam blazed through the windshield. Piper pressed flat against the wall. So did Zack and Elijah. They watched, frozen, as the beam moved across the floor and walls. Another light appeared through the side window. Piper prayed silently as it crept toward them. They were going to be spotted any second. Zack motioned them under the kitchen table. Piper nodded. It was their only hope. Silently, Zack and Elijah darted under it without a problem. But Piper was a fraction too slow. The beam caught her arm and she froze. It passed her, hesitated, then darted back. That's the end of chapter 4. That was a really short chapter, but nevertheless, that is the chapter. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, and if you feel any heart, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be posting a lot more of this book and some others later on. Please, if there's a part that you really liked in the book, go ahead and leave it in the comment and let's have a discussion about it. So far, I think it's really good. But, alas, I must leave. Ouch, I punched the mic. But alas, I must leave. So God bless you all, and remember that Jesus loves you. Bye.